The BJP has alleged that the Congress displayed disregard for Hindu traditions by calling the sacred Sengol a golden stick gifted to former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and tucking it away in a museum somewhere in India. The ceremonial scepter, which will be installed in the new Parliament building this Sunday, was given to Nehru to symbolize the transfer of power from the British to India in August 1947. It was kept in the Nehru Gallery of the Allahabad Museum. Republic spoke to the family of the Sengol makers. We'll get you the full interaction in just a short while from now. But let me go across to first CR Kesavan joining us on the broadcast. CR Kesavan is the great-grandson of India's first Indian Governor General, C. Rajagopalachari. CR Kesavan joining us on the show this evening. CR, good evening.
Good evening,
and CR, tell us more about the Sengol. And we've heard leader after leader, minister after minister talking about how it was perhaps ignored for all these years.
First, when all of us think about the transition and the transfer of power during, the Day of Independence on August 15, 1947, by and large, the first thing which comes to public memory is the tryst with destiny speech, and the lines of at the stroke of the midnight hour. Till now, nobody at large has even heard about what an important role, the sacred spectre or, Sengol as we call it in Tamil has played in the transfer of power. And I would first, as a proud Indian, would like to take this opportunity to thank our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, because only a person like Narendra Modi ji, with his profound understanding of, Indian civilizational heritage and our timeless tradition, and who has immense respect for our parampara and values, can bring out such an important historic incident which was relegated into darkness and oblivion into light, into public memory, and give it the right, give this the scepter its rightful place. So thanks to Narendra Modi ji for honoring this important incident in our history. If you see in 1947, as you know the history, when Mountbatten asked Mr. Nehru how this transfer of power should happen by a handshake or a paper, he asked Rajaji's counsel. And Rajaji was a very spiritual man. He was very conversant with the Vedas and Upanishads and also a very devout Hindu. So he spoke to people and then gave the advice that, there is this Indic civilizational tradition where the high priest of the state passes on the scepter or the Sengol to the king, which marks the transition of power. It's Sengol in Tamil is from the word Semmai, which means righteousness or just rule. So when everybody accepted this suggestion of Rajaji, Rajaji contacted the Thiruvadurai Adinam. Thiruvadurai is in Mayiladurai now, and it is a Shaivite monastery and a mutt. And the seer or the pontiff there, Neeraj, was Sri Ambalavana Desika Swamigal, who was actually not in very good health. He had very failing health, but he took upon the call of duty, commissioned a lapidary and made this wonderful scepter with a Nandi on the top, as I see on the screen, which symbolizes truth and justice, and Lakshmi, which symbolizes wealth. And on the day of Independence, just before midnight, they were flown in a special plane. The seer couldn't go, so he sent a representative called Kumarasamy Thambiran and Manika Muduvar, who was the priest who should recite the devotional hymns along with the famous Mirudanga Vidwan Nagaratnam Pillai. When the scepter was handed over from Mountbatten to the Thambiran, who was the representative of the pontiff, it was holy water was sprinkled, and Devaram. Devaram is a devotional Shaivite hymn which was basically given by Tirunjana Sambandha 1400 years back. See the interconnectedness and the cultural connect India has. So when the Devaram was sung, the scepter was handed over to the incoming Prime Minister. One thing I want to say, Neeraj, see this Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav initiative has ensured that unsung heroes and heroines and untold milestones get their due. See, this is an untold milestone which has come to light. Kashi Tamil Sangamam happened, which showed the connect between the south and the north. Then you had Madhavpur Mela, which shows how Gujarat in the east is connected to the Mishi tribes in the Arunachal of the west, because Lord Krishna's consort Rukmini came from there. This particular, tale of the Sengol, there have been so many people who have been instrumental to ensure that this has come into public memory again. First, I think nobody knew, like you rightly said, after 1947, this has been placed to the utter dismay and shock of everybody in a museum in Allahabad, saying that it is a golden walking stick presented to Pandit Nehru. This is a sacred Sengol, this is a sacred scepter.
Can I interrupt you there? Can I just interrupt you there for a second?
Please.
I'm just interrupting you there for a second. I started with that question. Why was it sidelined or kept in a museum and titled The Golden Walking Stick of Nehru?
The question should not be posed to me. It should have been posed to the people who are, running the state of affairs then. But it is extremely unfortunate that such a spiritual symbol was relegated to a footnote in history. And here we should acknowledge, people like the Mahaperiyava, who was the Chandrasekhara Swamigal, the pontiff of the Kanchi Mutt, because this was forgotten on August 15, 1978. He narrated this to one of his devotees saying, this is how it happened, and, Rajaji was counseled, and Rajaji spoke to the Tiruvadadinam Mutt, and then this is how it happened. And the devotee wrote a book. Later, this was picked up by the Tamil papers. And again, I'm telling you, Neeraj, the Prime Minister of India, our Home Minister, the Culture Ministry, and also senior people like Gurumurthy Ji, Dr. Padma Subramaniam, Sachidanand Joshi, Surya Prakash, all of them put their energy and effort to find out the history where this scepter was, and now all of them have helped under the able leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister to bring it back to public memory rightfully where it belongs. And the most befitting thing is our Prime Minister always talks about, how modernity and tradition should go along together. He is a person who feels and who does this. He harnesses technology but says it should be inspired and rooted in a spiritual tradition and heritage. And on, the day, May 28th, when we will be inaugurating the new building, the Honorable Prime Minister, he is going to install this behind the Speaker's chair. I mean, what more befitting to reflect the inclusive vision of the Prime Minister? Because the tale of the Sengol shows how civilizationally connected we are, and civilization commonality that India has always been one and interconnected. And the symbol is going to be, right there in the edifice and the temple of our democracy, saying, this is the rule of Dharma, and the rule of Dharma is the quintessence of our Indian civilizational core and culture. Now, the Tirukural, Neeraj, there have been actually, if you see, there is a separate chapter on Singonmai, meaning the scepter, where there are 10 couplets and 10 kurals. And one of the kurals in, I think, 546, very beautifully says, the king doesn't attain victory by wielding a sword, but the king attains victory by wielding the scepter in a just way. And I think it's such a proud moment for every Indian that when the great new building is being inaugurated, and you remember the last time in 1927 when it was inaugurated by Lord Irwin, there was no semblance of anything, with Indian culture or tradition. But now when this new building is inaugurated, we are going to celebrate, with the Sengol, our time-honored tradition and cultural heritage by placing this Sengol right behind the Speaker's chair to symbolize and signify the rule of Dharma. And I think it's a very proud moment that this has come to. And one thing, like you said, what has been relegated to the footnote of our history not only has been brought back, it has been given such a rightful, honored place which it deserves.
CR, thank you for explaining it so beautifully to all our viewers. CR Kesavan's great-grandfather was C. Rajagopalachari, who had then requested the leader of the Adinam in Tamil Nadu to do the same, which is for power to pass on to Indian hands from the British. That was the Sengol, that's what it was meant for, and not a golden walking stick, as you saw some of the pictures that came in at museums. Until today, for 75 years, it was called a golden walking stick. We'll talk again, once again, CR, before Sunday. Thank you very much.